A deadly infection, caused by a strange virus, has wiped out most of the global population. Only a few survivors remain. Two brothers, Brian and Danny, along with Brian's girlfriend, Bobby, and Danny's friend, Kate. The group is on a road trip to Turtle Beach, a favorite childhood spot for the brothers, hoping to escape the epidemic. Along the way, they see a car blocking the road. Inside are two survivors, Frank and his daughter, Jody. Brian immediately tells everyone to roll up the windows. Frank asks if they can spare some fuel in exchange for food and water. But Kate warns that Jody is infected. Not taking any chances, Brian quickly starts the engine to avoid any risk of exposure. As they drive off, Frank suddenly smashes their window with a wrench. Brian swerves and manages to escape, but the bottom of the car is damaged, leaking gasoline. Eventually, the car breaks down. While Danny and Bobby suggest going back to make a deal with Frank, Brian and Kate argue it's too dangerous. Left with no other option, the group decides to carry fuel cans and return to Frank. When they approach him, Brian pulls out a gun and demands Frank's car. Frank then tells them that the CDC has created a temporary cure at a nearby high school, and he needs to get Jody there, so she can be saved. Although Brian doubts Frank's story, Danny suggests a plan. The four of them will sit in the front seats, while Frank and Jody stay in the back, separated by a plastic barrier. They'll sanitize the entire car before heading to the school. As they pass their broken car, Danny goes back to retrieve an old childhood photo of him and Brian. Later, Bobby plays with Jody inside the car. When Brian makes a crude joke, Bobby slaps him, causing the car to veer off-road. In the chaos, Kate accidentally loosens the plastic barrier and, panicked about infection, jumps out of the car. Danny follows to calm her down, and together they notice an abandoned car nearby. Danny and Brian check it for fuel. Inside, they find the body of an infected man. Danny reaches for the keys, but the man suddenly moves and weakly speaks. Startled, Danny rushes out while the infected man bangs on the door, pleading for help. The brothers quickly flee. That night, the group camps out. While Brian and Bobby sneak off for some alone time, Kate and Danny talk to Frank and Jody. Frank asks why they're going to Turtle Beach. Danny explains that it's their childhood home, isolated and hopefully safe until the outbreak ends. As they sit by the fire, they suddenly hear a noise on the road. A tank is chasing a car. A man is shot by someone from the tank. Alarmed, the group puts out the fire and hides. The next morning, they continue toward the high school. On the way, they pass the body of the man who was shot, now hanging from a tree. They reach an infected town where no one has survived. Bodies are piled in trash trucks. Inside the high school, they hope to find the serum. Bobby stays back with Jody while the others search the building. While exploring, they see a child run into a room. Following slowly, they find a doctor working there. Frank joins them, and they ask if he has the serum for Jody. But the doctor reveals that the serum only works for 3 days. It delays death, but doesn't cure the infection. Shockingly, the doctor is also preparing to euthanize infected children, offering them a painless death. Frank begs the doctor to save Jody and the others. But the doctor explains he's done everything he can. Sometimes, mercy is the only option. Realizing there's no real cure, Frank lets the doctor go ahead with the euthanasia. The group leaves the school. Meanwhile, Bobby is in the car, playing with Jody. But suddenly, the little girl has trouble breathing and collapses. Bobby has to act fast to save Jody. She removes the plastic shield and reaches for her. But as Bobby pulls off Jody's mask to help her breathe, Jody suddenly vomits blood all over Bobby and the inside of the car. Just then, the others return from the school. Bobby quickly retapes the shield and takes off her bloody coat, trying to hide what happened. Frank climbs into the car and sees Jody lying on the floor. As he holds her, Jody asks to use the bathroom. Frank gently encourages her to go on her own, but she's too weak, so he helps her. Before leaving, Frank thanks Danny for his kindness. But Brian tells everyone to get in the car and leave Frank and Jody behind. They all know the two won't make it much longer. Later that day, while Danny and Kate are sanitizing the back seats, Bobby secretly hides her bloody coat under the car and stays quiet, worried they might leave her behind if they knew. They drive to a nearby hotel to rest for the night. There, Brian finds a dirty pool. Curious, he pokes at the water with a stick. When it gets stuck, he pulls it out, revealing a dead body. Startled, he nearly falls in, but Danny catches him just in time. Later, the group plays golf to unwind. At one point, Brian falls in the sand and reaches for Bobby's hand. But she worried about infection, hands him a golf club instead. Brian tries to joke around, but Bobby is clearly angry. As they hit balls toward the broken windows of a nearby building, they don't realize it's occupied by armed survivalists. That night, while Danny and Kate are in the hotel lobby, they see lights approaching the door. Knowing it's not Brian, they quickly hide in the kitchen, taking a knife just in case. An armed man walks in and notices a missing knife. Danny and Kate try to sneak out but are caught. Meanwhile, Brian returns to the hotel and sees armed men patrolling. He realizes the place has been taken over. Brian grabs one of them and forces information out of him. He finds out that Danny, Kate, and Bobby are being held by the group. The men accuse them of contaminating the hotel and killing a man named Larry, the same one Brian saw in the pool. They force Bobby and Kate to undress, and that's when they notice Bobby is infected. Panicked, the leader tells them to leave immediately. The next day, the group continues traveling, but things are tense. Bobby has tested positive for the virus. Brian makes a harsh decision. He forces Bobby to leave the group. Bobby begs him to let her stay, but rules are rules. She runs after the car, but it drives away. Eventually, they run out of gas. They spot another car in the distance. Brian, still upset over leaving Bobby, insists on stopping the car, despite Danny and Kate's concerns. As Danny talks to the two women in the other car and asks for fuel, Brian suddenly shoots them, killing the driver. Danny is furious. He tries to stop Brian from killing innocent people, but Brian is cold and determined. He approaches the surviving woman and forces her out of the car. But she pulls out a gun and shoots Brian in the leg. Injured, Brian fires back and kills her. Limping, he orders Danny to take the fuel. But after what Brian just did, Danny is emotionally shaken. They argue. Brian insists they had no choice. If they didn't act first, they wouldn't survive. They'd never reach Turtle Beach and would eventually die from the virus. Danny says nothing, but accepts the grim reality. Kate drives now since Brian is injured. When Brian starts to look pale, Danny suggests stopping at an abandoned house for medical supplies. As they scout the place, Kate notices a broken window on the second floor. Danny climbs in. Inside, he finds an infected woman dead in a chair, still holding a gun. Carefully, he takes the gun. In the next room, he sees a wild dog eating another infected body. Danny spots some medicine on a table nearby. He moves in quietly, hoping the dog won't notice. But he accidentally knocks over a jar, startling the dog. It attacks him. Danny shoots it dead and comes out of the house covered in blood. He explains what happened and treats Brian's wound. But then he realizes Brian is infected too. Danny tells Kate the truth. She wants to leave Brian behind, but Danny can't. He's his brother. They keep driving into the night, isolating Brian in the back seat. Later, when they stop, Brian demands the car keys to make sure they don't abandon him. As he weakens and blacks out, Danny quietly takes the gun and keys from him. But Brian isn't fully unconscious. As Danny and Kate try to leave, Brian reveals he had already switched the real keys. Moments later, he unlocks the car from outside. Kate hands Danny the gun, knowing what has to be done. Danny tries to reason with Brian, asking for the keys. But Brian walks toward him, refusing to stop. With no choice, Danny shoots his brother. The next morning, Danny sits beside Brian's burned body. Then he and Kate drive to Turtle Beach. They finally reach the old beach house from Danny's childhood. As Danny looks around, he feels the weight of everything they've lost, and the memory of his brother lingers in the silence. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the story. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more videos.